G'day there, guys. This man may or may not be sleeping with Jeffree Star, but that is unconfirmed and not true. It's your main man, Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the A-hole, where only the spiciest tea and gossip comes into the limelight. Now, if you love this content today, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbecue, and enjoy today's bloody good content. Thank you. Our first post is by user AmiTheA 0075613, titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my half-brother out when he was handing guests invitations at my wife's funeral? Now, my, male 39, wife of 6 years, passed away from breast cancer 3 weeks ago. It's devastating, and I'm barely holding it together. I used to sleep either at the hospital or my dad and stepmom's house. He supported me at the time, and I also have a 29-year-old half-brother. My brother's wedding is in 3 months. When I came from the hospital and sat and cried, he brought up the wedding planning with his mum and talked about the venue and menu and ignored me. He made backhanded comments like, I can't imagine this happening to my fiancé, saying I'm not doing enough, constantly comparing me to him and how he would have done more. I stopped going. I'd rather sit alone in an empty house than listen to him. At the funeral, he came with my stepmom. His phone didn't stop ringing. Everyone noticed. Then later, when the guests were sitting inside the house, he kept asking about certain relatives to see if they came. I was with my dad at the time. Once the guests started leaving, I saw my brother standing by the door, handing guests envelopes, then shaking their hands when they walk out. I didn't know what he was handing them. I walked up to him and asked him. He showed me invitations for his wedding that he was handing out to the guests, and I was stunned. I asked if he was serious. He said there's some relatives and family that live out of town who came to the funeral, and he wanted to do an actual hand delivery from his hand to theirs, saying mailing invitations didn't feel proper. I lashed out at him, and he said no one noticed, so it was no big deal. He just wanted to make sure everyone got an invitation since the whole family was there. I was so mad, no wonder the guests gave me weird looks before walking out. What's worse is that my wife's family saw this and were upset, and I felt awful and embarrassed. I was infuriated. I yelled at him and told him to leave immediately. My dad and stepmom and others got involved, but he left after I insisted. My dad berated him, but said this is how he is, being insensitive. My stepmom said that I shouldn't have kicked him out in front of everyone, her side of the family, and disrespecting the family. She said no one was noticing, and that he thought that this was an opportunity for him to make sure they know about his wedding. I argued with her and other family members for hours about it. My dad's side of the family said they were upset because of what he did, and my stepmom's side of the family were upset I kicked him out. My stepmom is now contacting me to get me to go to talk to my brother and get right with him. To add, my stepmom never sees anything wrong with my brother's behavior. No matter what he does, she always tries to defend him either directly or indirectly. Dad isn't doing a damn thing. And OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. My stepmom says that I shouldn't have embarrassed the family in front of everyone by kicking him out like that it was not good for their reputation. And, screw their family's reputation. I could care less about a family's reputation in a situation like this. We're pretty much diving to the bottom of the ocean here for just how bad a situation can get for a family. Someone's wife has literally died of breast cancer, and this sibling is rubbing it in the face of OP. Handing out wedding invitations, minimizing OP's emotions, and then shaming OP for not doing enough. That's just so incredibly fucking heartless. And then this family defending it and attacking OP as well because it's not good for their reputation? This family is utterly disgusting. I just cannot with these people. There are definitely worse scenarios, but me myself, I can't imagine going through worse than this if I were in OP's shoes. And I don't know why they think they're the a-hole for this. They're feeling particularly vulnerable right now, they're going through grief, so maybe they can convince themselves this is them being, the agitator. But as logic would have it, that's absolutely not the case. OP, not the a-hole. A Goddess Violet says, not the a-hole. Who in their right mind thinks handing out wedding invitations during a funeral is okay? That's the most insensitive thing I've heard of, and what's wrong with mailing the invitations? I've known many people to send them through the mail, and have received them in the mail myself. It's so commonplace. I'm so sorry that your brother did this to you. Not the a-hole. At some point, you'll likely need to RSVP that you aren't going to the wedding. I don't think your brother will intuit that. Be sure to give his intended an early heads up on why you won't be there. I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah, I wonder how the fiancé will react, because if I were engaged to an a-hole like this, I would be exploding at him right now. Outrageous Text 4914 replies, not the a-hole. Your brother is selfish and unsympathetic, and your wife deserved to have an undisrupted service. I am so sorry for your loss and wish you the best. Edit to add, if anyone embarrassed your family, it was your brother, not you. And OP replied, they told me kicking him out was extreme, yet saw nothing wrong with him doing what he was doing, excusing his behavior, saying that no one noticed. But he was giving the invitation to guests who came to mourn and extend their condolences. I'm not even sure if they think that I was okay with that, but their looks were telling. No one noticed? You noticed. That's the only thing that matters. Your brother is beyond selfish and insensitive, and his behavior at your wife's funeral is beyond the pale. He owes you a deep and sincere apology, but it doesn't seem like he's capable of one. You are absolutely not the a-hole, and please do not listen to your family members enabling your brother. They are the reason he's like this in the first place. I'm so sorry for your loss. Not just that, evidently OP's late wife's family noticed, as OP said they were just upset by it. Jesus Christ. If someone had handed out wedding invites at my mum's funeral in front of her effing mother and father, we'd be planning another funeral. You don't get to go to a funeral and take over, whatever the reason. That's someone's last chance to see, even if it's closed, their loved one. People deserve that more than anything else, to be quite honest. They deserve some kind of closure to that part of their life, even if that's just the start of them grieving their loss. OP, double down and send out apologies, including to the stepmom and her family, for the inappropriate behavior one of your family members showed towards guests leaving the funeral. Say that it was not supported or condoned by you or your wife's family, and you're deeply sorry that their time of mourning was disrespected in such a manner. To be fair, I think that's the right thing to do. I don't know if you particularly denounce them like that, but absolutely saying that it's not supported or condoned by you or your wife's family is the right way to go about it, because no one else there was expecting someone to pull this, and they probably noticed just as much as you did. That absolutely is a no-go, and I personally would call out someone for doing that because that's just a dick move. Our next post is by user AmiTheA 333645, titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my son out of my house after he cancelled my job interview? Please hear me out first. I'm a single mum, 45, of a 20-year-old son, Chris. Chris is in college. He studies engineering. Being a single mum at a young age was not easy for me, despite everything I've been through, despite my own family giving up on me. I made sure my son got the life he deserves. He was and is my everything. I worked several jobs that were different from each other. I was able to earn a home after years of renting. And more importantly, I was able to provide Chris with an opportunity for education. Recently, Chris moved back in with me because he no longer could pay rent. His next semester is starting soon, and he's been talking to me about the possibility of selling my house and buying a house in the city where he studies, so he will no longer pay rent, and said that it was better to move. I declined for several reasons. 1, I grew up here. My old friends live here. 2, the city is expensive. And 3, this home means a lot. It represents my hard work and sacrifices. Chris didn't like that. He threw a fit and kept bringing it up, trying to convince me to do it. Last week, he kept pressuring me. I told him that I found a potential job at a company, and it was an opportunity that I've been looking for 3 months. He took it as I don't want to move because of my new job. But that's not true. Yesterday, I found out that he contacted the company and cancelled my interview, and then deleted my email. I use a computer, and it's in the office, so he gets access to it. He told me he wanted to check his college website for some reason, and I thought nothing of it. That was the night before. I found out yesterday morning that someone cancelled my interview. I confronted Chris about it. First he denied, then he said that the company wasn't what I deserved anyway, and I can find a better position when we move to the city. I was so mad at him for ruining this for me and pressuring me to move, leaving me no choice. I felt as if he was trying to sell the house from under me after he said he found a potential buyer and just wanted to make things go smoothly, and all I have to say is yes. I yelled at him and argued with him, telling him that he was an adult and should manage his own issues. I told him to get a job, but not expect me to turn my life upside down for him. He yelled back, saying I was selfish, and I ended up kicking him out of the house. His aunt knew and was yelling at me for what I did, saying I was treating him poorly and he was hurt by me. Just to clarify, his aunt is my sister. She doesn't have children of her own, and Chris considers her as a second mother to him. She's always defending him no matter the reason. He hasn't left town yet, and she wants me to call him. I need to mention that this is not how he is normally. I have no idea what's going on, but he was constantly talking about it and was insisting so much, it got me upset and worried, honestly. And OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I feel like I'm an a-hole for kicking him out, but I wasn't responsible for his issues. I'm very supportive, yet I can be strict. I feel like there's different situations that will warrant different reactions, and whether kicking someone out was an a-hole move or not. So like the story yesterday with the twins, one of them makes an OnlyFans account, one twin gets upset and threatens to kick the other one out. I don't think she actually got kicked out. In that situation, yes, they would be an a-hole for kicking them out. I feel like that wasn't warranted. You kicking your kid out of the house in this situation was warranted, because he was just at you non-stop, pressuring you and just doing stupid young people things that, obviously when you get older, you realize was a stupid young people thing to do. Your sister probably has a few screws loose in her head if she's defending him on this one and calling you out for it. Shame on her. She should definitely know better and know that he's acting up, trying to get his way, when his way will just actively harm everyone. I say that with confidence and as an absolute because it's obvious given OP's reaction that his pressuring and his stupid ideal he has in his head will not do any good for anyone but him, and it'll just serve to further ostracize OP. And then in the same breath, the sister defending OP's son for cancelling the job interview, and in turn ruining 3 months of job searching, is just another nail in the coffin. That's such a dick move. OP, not the a-hole. Hudflow says, not the a-hole. He's 20. Legally, your house is under your name. He's doing shady things like that around your house, then he's being shady in general. When it comes to family, it's difficult to do anything negative, but he needs to learn about consequences. Make him pay rent. A normal rate, no discount. If he wants internet, then he needs to pay for it. Lock your computer, and if he complains, then give him $10 and tell him to go to a library. Now for the aunt. Tell her that you needed the job, and if they don't listen to both sides of the story, then they can F off. Substantial Fee replies, oh, I'd one-up that and literally look up rent in the city and charge him that. Then be like, why are you complaining? This is what they charge in the city. The Mirror's Truth says, not the a-hole. If you ever accept him in your home again, charge him rent. He's being extremely ungrateful and entitled. It's none of his aunt's business, and your son needs the reality check. And OP replies, I never expected this from him. I didn't know why he thought by doing this he'd be convincing me to move out and sell the house. Moving is not easy, and I believe that it's my decision in the end, despite him being desperate. He shouldn't expect me to put everything on hold, leave everything and move to the city. It's not believing it's your decision. It is entirely your decision. You have done every and anything for him, and this is how he repays you? So, say in 5 years he finds a girl and she wants to move to a different city, and you're stuck in the city he chose for you by yourself. How is that fair? He's young and only worries about the next 5 months, unlike you, who worries about the next 5+ years. Please don't let him dictate your life, not the a-hole. I'd honestly be very careful about letting Chris into your home again. You may want to consider locking everything down. Check your credits, put all your important documents in a safe place, SS card, tax returns, birth certificate, passport, bank account info, car and house title, scrub your computer, change logins and passwords for accounts, make sure he didn't install a keystroke logger, and talk to a lawyer about financial and medical power of attorney. If, heaven forbid, something happened to you and you were incapacitated, the last thing you want is for Chris to take advantage of that and try to sell your house or clean out your bank accounts. Financial abuse is a thing, and it's common among adult children to take over and control their parents' finances. So you need to protect yourself against that now. I know it sounds harsh, but your son has shown you that he, and your sister it seems, are untrustworthy. For heaven's sake, he tried to sell your house out from under you, and he cost you a job. Chris is a very selfish and manipulative person. It's absurd that he actually believed he could force you to sell your home and uproot your life so that he can continue to mooch off you. He has shown that he cares more about his selfish wants than the needs of his mother. And I'm betting that he spun the story to come out like he's the victim here to your sister, who isn't doing anyone favors by enabling his behavior. I would give her one chance to hear your side, and if she continues to pressure you into allowing Chris to take over your life, because that's what he's attempting to do, take control over his mother's life, and when demanding didn't work he resorted to cruel manipulation and guilt trips, then it may be time to go no contact with her for a while. But right now, while the hurt is still fresh, please take the time to make sure your life is secure and safe from anything Chris might do next, either in retaliation or as another attempt to take over and gain control. I don't know your son, but it's possible that just confronting him, explaining how his actions are wrong, and giving him consequences for his actions won't make him accept reality for his behavior. Him running to his aunt and playing the victim is a good indication that he isn't holding himself accountable for his actions. He's blaming you. So I would make sure you're prepared for Chris to come at you in other ways to get what he wants. I am very sad for you. But you also need to protect yourself from your son's selfish desire to run your life for his own benefit. Our next post is by user AmiTheA3862, titled, Am I the a-hole for saying my sister is not welcome in my home? So I, 20 female, live with my best friend and roommate. I have a sister, 21 female, and a brother, 23 male. My sister and I have a pretty rocky relationship, and I don't like having her in my space. Living with her for 18 years was hard enough, and I swore I would never do it again. She always wants something and is pretty toxic, accusing people of doing stuff to her and turning her back on people. Some examples. She befriended the girl who bullied me for years and brought her home for Christmas my last year living with my parents. This is a girl who bullied me to the point that my parents had to change my school, and then she cyberbullied me. Her best friend's stepbrother treated her like crap for existing, and she ended up dating him and telling her best friend to get over herself. Then told everyone her best friend was a selfish baby for trying to interfere in her love life. More recently, she told our parents that she found out I broke the cell phone they bought her when she started high school, but actually, she sold it so they would buy her a better one, and she used the money on makeup. So she's now a single mum, and she was kicked out of her place before Christmas. She asked to stay with me, and I said no. I told her to go to our parents. Our parents were disappointed and said I should have let her stay for at least a night. They then wanted to know if I would let them all come over for Christmas, and I said no. I told her and them that she is not welcome in my home because I don't trust her. They think I'm being really unkind. I just don't want to be around her toxic. My brother says I'm doing the right thing, even though he never had issues with her. But he knows she doesn't care about screwing people over and would never consider their feelings. She told me if I won't ever let her into my home, then I can never have a relationship with her daughter. I told her that was her choice as her daughter's mum. Am I the a-hole? And OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I won't let my sister into my home because I feel she is toxic, and I did not let her stay overnight when she was kicked out of where she was living. Personally, I don't think that makes you the a-hole in this situation. I feel like it's just protecting your better interests, when she never has and never will have your better interests at heart, and now she's using her daughter as a bargaining chip saying, "Oh my god, if I don't get my way, you'll never be in my daughter's life ever again." Doesn't that just suck? Don't you just hate that? Oh my god. Wouldn't you just feel terrible never having a relationship with my daughter? Me personally, if that kept me out of the firing range from having so much toxicity in my life, yeah, I would absolutely take that trade. I don't care about you and your daughter, I don't care about that relationship with her, if it means that I have peace of mind and a happier life. So therefore, OP, with your explanation of why you think you might be the a-hole, just because she didn't get to stay a night with you after she was kicked out of where she was living for being toxic, that's not your problem. That's her problem. She's an adult and she can solve her own problems. She's earned no sympathy from you, she has other friends, she has other people that can go help her. Don't feel bad for not offering to help and not wanting to help. You are not the a-hole here. 2 Scoops of Arse says, not the a-hole. I have a sister who's a full-blown sociopath who also engages in the same types of shenanigans. Calling it shenanigans is like saying kids who rip wings off of insects are playing. These people are straight up terrorizing. I don't know if I would necessarily label her a terrorist. I might call her an unstable psycho. Not a terrorist, but terrorizing, as they inspire terror and fear into others. And not the a-hole. OP, your response and your decision regarding your sister is the best. Stay strong. MarleyCat118 says, not the a-hole. You don't have to justify or explain. It's your place. Your parents probably didn't want her at their place. She can suck it up because she's burned the bridge that you guys had. Unless she shows improvement, you owe her nothing. And even if she does somehow become a better person, people can change, OP is still in no way obligated. Family is important, but family is also what you make it. She owes her sister nothing. The Mirror's Truth says, not the a-hole. She's toxic and you don't need to put up with her anymore. Everyone else can suck it up. Not the a-hole. I wouldn't want someone like that in my house either. Your parents are the ones who enabled her behavior. They can be the ones to deal with her. And our last post is by user 0587throwaway, titled, Would I be the a-hole for reporting a coworker to HR for trying to feed me? So, I, 24 male, am a small man, 5'4" and 103 pounds as of my last physical. I'm well aware I'm at an unhealthy weight. My entire life I've been small, mostly due to illness and a myriad of allergies, and it's admittedly a sore spot. I'm working with my doctor to gain weight while still fitting in with my dietary restrictions. No meat, dairy, gluten, or nuts, and honestly, I'm so much better than I was several months ago and proud of myself for the progress I've made. A coworker, Peg, 30, female, got pregnant and recently returned to work late November. She's been increasingly overt and uncomfortable in her concern for me. Peg made and brought in cupcakes for her return, and when I thanked her for thinking of us but refused, citing my gluten allergy, she was visibly upset. She didn't shout or complain much, just sighed heavily and said that she would put this one in the break room with the rest. I felt awful. Then, she brought me a steak sandwich the next day on gluten-free bread. Again, I thanked her, but I'd brought in my own lunch and needed to focus on that. Peg told me it was in the fridge for when I finished. Ended up bringing it home so she wouldn't feel bad and gave it to my boyfriend. Next day, she approached again. I refused again. She insisted. By now, we weren't alone in the break room. She joked that it was rude to refuse a home-cooked meal in favor of that, my lunch. At that point, I just took it and thanked her, and boyfriend ended up eating it. Then she just started leaving bagged snacks on my desk. She would approach with a snack or a portion of whatever she made for dinner the night before and not leave me be until I had taken it. I went to our boss and explained that I felt uncomfortable and was told that she was probably feeling maternal and it would negatively impact morale to discourage her. So, been taking notes since then, what days Peg has given what, when, who witnessed it, etc. From the 8th of December, you frickin' Americans and your stupid dates, to now, she's done it 23 times. Yesterday, I took Peg aside and explained that while I was touched, I would appreciate if she wouldn't bring in anything else. She said that I should have said something sooner. She was only trying to help. Have I seen myself in a mirror? Does your boyfriend like you starving yourself? Among other phrases. Livid, I told her that maybe I didn't feel like sharing my personal medical history with her just so that my wishes were respected. For God's sake, we work with a hospital. Don't you know anything about HIPAA? We parted from there, me childishly storming off and her in tears. Have I already been a huge ass, and would a report to HR just be the icing on the ass cake? And OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. Well, for starters, she's probably emotional from having her child and worried about me. I also left the poor woman in tears and threw her consideration in her face. My boss clearly didn't see an issue with this behavior and actively discouraged me making a scene over it. There's obviously a lot of different factors to put into account in this one, and if we didn't have you tracking how many times she did it, I would kind of say that you're a little bit overreacting in this situation and it could be an everyone sucks here kind of situation. But given the fact that she has done it 23 times in less than a month, that is just egregious. That's unforgivable. That's absolutely sociopathic behavior. Why is you being visibly uncomfortable and saying no not enough for this woman? At this point, she's got a point to prove, and she doesn't care about your feelings. How many people here can reasonably say they can do something out of good faith 23 times, and by the time it gets to that 23rd time, it's still in good faith? Because if you could do that to someone who is obviously denied this and is uncomfortable, you lack self-awareness. It's just so sad that someone can do this to another person. I feel like we do have enough evidence that this isn't a completely biased take on the situation, and that it feels like to me OP's boss doesn't want to see an issue with this behavior and discourages OP from making a scene over it because they'd rather keep the peace. Because it's less problematic to reprimand this woman over that. I disagree with OP's boss, and this was probably one of the only ways of tackling this situation. It's harassment and you have to get people off your back. So yeah, OP, not the a-hole. Trainier86 says, not the a-hole. Even if she stops now, you can tell HR that you had a discussion with her and you do not require action at this moment, but you want to put this on the record. Consider this. What if she complains to HR about a hostile work environment? Make sure your side of the story is on record somewhere. Quote, I went to our boss and explained that I felt uncomfortable and was told that she was probably feeling maternal and it would negatively impact morale to discourage her. End quote. Can I just say that this boss is a huge asshat? Your coworker is clueless and annoying, but your boss should have taken action here. They just didn't want to deal with it, so your complaint wasn't properly addressed. She's the biggest a-hole in all of this. Edit, boss is a woman, not a man. Thanks to those who pointed it out. Fish and Whistle says, you weren't childishly storming off. You were leaving after setting an appropriate boundary, not the a-hole. The Mirror's Truth says, not the a-hole. Yes, you might have just told her to stop at the beginning without giving your medical history, but she likely wouldn't have listened. I would report her and your boss. Boss should have stepped in the moment you asked. Literally just finished a work harassment training, and this is like checking all the boxes. Unwelcome and pervasive, changing the dynamic of the workplace, and supervisor has not stepped in 23 effing times? I'm surprised OP has been so patient. Breaks my heart that he would feel bad for this. Aren't those fun? I've led the 2-hour manager sessions in the past, and yeah, this is both a problem because of his food allergies, which could be considered a disability because his ability to process certain foods impacts the major life activity of eating, and it's gender stereotyping. If OP was 5'4", 104 pounds and female, no one would take an issue. Well, that can be untrue at times though. I've heard a lot of skinny girls getting harassed because you're so skinny, it's not healthy to starve yourself, or you need to eat and to put some meat on those bones. It can happen to both genders, and it's equally as hurtful to both. This lady's just a freak. And our last comment by Recalcitrant Opinions says, "Not the a-hole, but hear me out. I think you should bring this up on HR primarily to report how your boss handled, or in this case, did not handle the issue. You can say that you think you and your coworker have resolved the situation and hope there will be no further incidents to report, but that you want to provide the documented evidence just in case, as well as express your frustration that you were essentially told your discomfort does not matter because the offending party is pregnant." So yeah, I think this kind of covered the situation in its entirety. I feel like I don't need to read any more comments. There's just thousands of comments every time, and that stuff would take way too long. Hope you guys enjoyed this little bit of a longer one today. This has been your boy Markee. I hope you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.